entered into the funhouse up those stairs. And it brought you around across the front where there was the sliding floor. You then went down a ramp and through what was always called the arcade, which was back on a little raised platform, back and forth around a bullpen, which had little stunts on like roller things on the floor, some more of those sliding things, and then you went down the ramp, and you were in the main funhouse, which was completely open. There was the slide that was on this side. You walked up the stairs, you grabbed a burlap, walked up the stairs, and slid down the wooden slide. Right in the middle was the wheel. To the left was the barrel. In back of the wheel was what was called the toggle woggle, which was basically just a box, or an open box, with the floor that moved by itself. You get in there, you push the floor around with your feet, and the floor went back and forth. In the far back were what was called the turkey trot, the floors that undulated as when you walked over them. And in the way far back was the house that Jack built. And there were the funhouse mirrors that were along the side. And the operator sat up in the deck, and he controlled the wheel, to turn it on and off. He controlled the air hoses, the compressors, which would blow people's skirts there at various places. And on the wheel there were these little contacts which he controlled, which would send an electric shock. So if you were sitting on the wheel holding on, and you had your hands playing in the right place, all of a sudden you'd get a little shock there because he'd push the button, and that would throw you off. But the idea was to get in the middle of the wheel so that you would be able to last the whole time around.
I probably was in here as a kid, but I don't have all the details.
We changed it. How old are you?
I'm 50.
Okay. We changed it in probably the late 70s, as the thing started breaking. The wheel was broken. The turkey trots were giving us trouble. We were having little things, bumps, bruises, that sort of stuff. And it seemed to be a function of the longer people stayed in there, the more often they got hurt. And so we decided we were going to make it into a walkthrough to get people in and out of there, but still try to preserve some of the flavor. And so it was probably in the late 70s that Dominic
Spadola
came and basically worked with us to lay it out, did the artwork that was up top, made some paper mache figures, which I think we still have. And we had our own carpenters basically just go and incorporate into the what we already had, make it a walkthrough so people could walk through once and get out, and that changed the concept.
And you lit it up more too, right, inside?
Well, we didn't. It was always lit. I mean, it was open and lit at the beginning. When we had the walkthrough, we darkened it down a little bit. We didn't make it a dark walkthrough. We just put some lights in there, so we made it a little bit darker than normal. Back and we didn't do anything with that for maybe 15 years. And then in '96, we changed it to what we called the Prism, which was going to be more educational in content, and it was basically colors. And each section with different colors, and there were different things about the colors, and we had local artists come in and paint on the walls, and to do it that way. And then in '98, it was changed to this to go along with what we did with Halloween. So we've had, this is the third, the third evolution. It stayed as a regular funhouse forever. With the same stunts when I was a kid, and you'll see the pictures of it in the museum. It may spur some of your memory. But it was what I've seen as pictures of the other fun houses of the 40s and 50s. Because I think this stretch of building burned in '44.
So it would have been after that.
And so it was probably built in the 40s. It was this whole area was rebuilt after the fire of 1944.
So we figured it was built by Philadelphia Toboggan.
Don't know. You mentioned that, George, and that's the first mention that I have heard.
I think I picked it up on the web someplace.
Being Philadelphia Toboggan, they did our coaster.
Okay.
And I've never heard their name associated with this, although whenever I talk to historical people, I learn things. We had, a few years ago, the National Historical Amusement Park Association up, and they were telling me things about some of our rides. And I've been in this all my life. And they were telling me things that I wasn't aware of. So, could very well be, but I've never even heard of Philadelphia Toboggan being in the funhouse business.
Oh, yeah. They were in it big
Yeah,
time.
And this
Yeah.
was, the way you described it, that's a lot of the stuff that they would typically put into their walkthroughs when they built them back in that area, that time.
Yeah. Did they call them walkthroughs back then?
No, they just call them
Funhouses.
Funhouses.
But they would put they had a number of names like Daffy Club and, you know, all those things.
Yeah.
Goofy
Yeah.
Villa and all
Yeah.
that stuff that they would put on there. And even Palisades Park,
Yeah.
which they built, the one that burned down was very much like
Hey,
this.
Mike, do you know whatever happened to the woman?
Laughing Sal.
You remember the woman we had here before?
Fudge, I remember it was the clown.
It was a clown?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's much help.
But yeah, there probably was a woman before that.
It was.
you know?
I remember the
'cause
woman.
there's a
forget what
picture of it.
changed to the clown.
Yeah.
You never come across a woman figure. My guess would be if we had it, it's probably in back there in that little area.
Yeah. Or, I mean, there's a lot of the old figures up above, but I'm not sure if those are like really originals or not. So
Okay.
They had the scarecrow and all that other stuff.
Scarecrow.
Yeah. Back when it was the fun house.
Oh, okay.
Right over here, where remember they had the chain and tire, crazy walk or whatever.
Yes.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
the suspended
Yeah. The
walkway,
bridge.
yeah. Those are
Oh, okay.
So-
motorized scarecrow. But
Okay.
Paper mache dummies.
Are they still around, or are
They
they?
might be upstairs. We have
Yeah,
a
it might
flashlight.
be the upstairs is a little scary. So you don't want to.
Oh,
You have a big
we're off of
flashlight?
that.
Yeah. We've been in.
Do we have a big?
Yeah, I've got another one right there too. I do have a light up above.
So anyway, we went in and walked around that way, but that upstairs is. How do you want to do it? You want to go upstairs first and then go downstairs?
Sure.
We can go back
If
the
there's
way we-
anything from past living up there, we will want to see.
So the ride used to actually go upstairs.
This is the entrance to the ride.
Oh, I see.
You went through the ticket booth, which is
Okay.
where that window was. I think
Okay.
it was built out a little bit,
Okay.
and came up these great stairs,
Wow.
which have probably not been. Well, these haven't been changed. This was closed off, so you went around that way. So let's just.
A lot of stuff to trip over up here. It was just this guy.
Oh, that stuff, yeah, that stuff.
Yeah, it's just the old
Yeah.
paper mache things.
Yeah, nothing of historical.
Yeah.
But this deck was always here, but you couldn't, the patrons couldn't get up here.
Oh, I see. So did they actually?
They came here, that door, there was a door right here.
Okay.
So they came up the stairs and were forced over to the,
Over here?
to the left here. Over here.
Over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, they came up here, this was,
Yep.
they came up here
I
and
see.
and we went this way.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Now, was there a cutout on the front that they actually came out, went back in again? Like you could see, it was all enclosed.
This was all enclosed.
All enclosed. Okay.
When you're up here, you couldn't see anything. No one could see you. Okay. This was where the operator would. Watch this guy.
Okay.
And these, watch your step here.
This looks like a Dominic thing. Yeah.
They're here? I don't think so.
No?
We didn't do anything this weird with him.
Okay.
Although we may have covered over what he had already done.
Oh, I see. Okay.
No, this isn't it.
Okay.
Watch your step here. The operator, here's all the old controls.
How much? Oh, I see.
So he sat up here. Here are all his controls. He had this was all open,
Yep.
so he had the view of everything. And he could play around with the air hoses and turn off all the machinery.
I see.
Actually, if there was a problem in the barrel, the problem somewhere, he could just
Yep.
turn it off.
I see.
And he controlled the air hoses and the electrical conductors.
Okay.
Is that console there, or?
Right here? Yeah. Well, no, it's
Gone.
I wouldn't consider it a console. It's a whole bunch of boxes. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they had consoles in the 40s. I don't think they had created that.
Sliding walk.
It was more like, I don't know, space creatures. We didn't want the semi-series stuff.
see a trick floor here, huh?
Yeah, it was a sliding wall.
You had-
Right here is where, well, you've still got the moving floor in place, but we don't, it's not operating.
Okay, this was the moving plank. See now?
See, right here, these boards went back and forth.
Okay.
There, moving floor, there was nothing really up there of any stunts. And you came into this area, which was, which was sectioned.
Hop over?
Yeah,
Okay.
which was sectioned off by metal post, by post fence.
Okay.
And so you went back and forth 3 times. I think each of the sections was a little narrower than this.
And this was the old entrance right here.
No, that was the second entrance. They would move, yeah, they were motorized. They were always moving.
Okay.
This was always moving back and forth with just one.
This is classic floor stuff.
Yeah. And what you would do is then, you would come through the very full fence, and there was basically a ramp that went down here to put you onto the floor. And there were some benches that were sitting there so people could sit and watch the people coming through here.
Wow.
When we did our first modification, when we made it into a walkthrough, we closed off the upstairs, we opened up that, we opened up right here, where you see that frame, that thing, and that became the entrance. We brought him up here, and we brought him through here to walk. We put some more stumps on the floor, like, with the help of Dominic, the circles that you could stand on and spin yourself all the way around.
Yeah.
And we brought him down, then we brought him out this way, brought him down here, and we had like a suspension bridge they walked across, and we just brought him around that way to go through the rest of the funhouse in a channel.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we made it into the prism, we closed off that entrance, and we brought him in the entrance to the left over there, which was always the exit.
Oh, I see.
Because when people came out, they walked up through there. There was a big turnstile, a full-length turnstile that they walked through, so people couldn't get back in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we all this framing, we put all this framing in at the time we did our prism. When we made it into a walkthrough, we basically had them walking on, we had built it up a platform, and we had them walking through a path.
Right.
Which was built up, and it gradually sloped down, so we got to floor level when we were, somewhere around the turkey trot. And then we brought him through the tunnel and over the old wheel, which is on here, and then back out that way. We sort of snaked them around.
Yeah. Wow. So now, because I can't remember when it was I went through this thing. I think it was in '98. Was it only open during Halloween? In '98, you had it open the full season, right?
Let me think of the sequence. In I remember.
Yeah. Okay.
We opened it up. We closed it in the middle. One summer, we closed it in the middle of the summer to get it ready for Halloween.
Oh, I
like
see.
in August.
I see.
We opened it Halloween. Then we started opening it the next season. We opened it all season. There was some. With the way it was a walkthrough, and because of stunts, we got a lot of damage in here.
Yeah, I understand.
So last season it wasn't open at all. The season before it wasn't open at all because we just didn't, it just wasn't a high priority to go in and try to reconfigure so we could save the damage. When we opened it for Halloween, because the intention was this was a non-scary a Halloween operation, we're going to get little kids, and little kids don't do the deliberate destruction
Right.
that
Right.
teenagers do.
Right.
And so there wasn't that much concern given to the fact that everything's available to pull and all of that.
Right.
And when we opened it for the season, and we had kids that like to come in whenever they get a chance and do
Mm-hmm.
whatever they want to do, we experienced severe problems. And so that limited what we did, you know, obviously, shouldn't have done it this way, well, we'll get around to it.
Okay.
The last time I was in here, I remember this being a free attraction.
Well, it's always,
Monster.
it's always free with admission. In fact, we would, well, when I was growing up, it was each ride, each thing you ticketed separately. Then we went to the pay one price, where once you get in here, everything was part of the admission. When we made it into, the first walkthrough came up here, when it was basically a non-dark walkthrough.
Yep,
It came
yep.
up here and circled around.
Mm-hmm.
When we made it into our prism and then our monster, we brought him in here, which was always the exit.
Oh, I see.
We took out the big turnstile. Do you know where that ever went to, Mike? No. I'll catch you. But then we brought him in this way, which was always the exit. Basically, this corridor was always here. People leaving would just come off the floor and go out this way.
I see.
So when we did it with the prism, Mike, do you know what happened to the big exit turnstile we used to have?
Yeah, that's about the shop.
Okay. Because that's probably classic. When we framed this off to make the prism, when we initially did the walkthrough, these walls weren't here because the walkthrough was still semi-open. And when we did the prism, we created this like console room where we had all of our equipment, our monitors, and we monitored the place because of the type of walkthrough it was.
Right.
We had the Radio Shack cameras and
Oh, really?
yeah.
Wow.
And we had a thing. But we did all these and they were basically, it was a dark ride. It was darker then because we had black light and we had colors. But each area was a different color, like almost like in a different part of the world. But then we did this for the Halloween. It's almost like what it's become.
Did you guys make these things yourself?
Yeah.
These-
Oh yeah. This was all done. We might have bought a few stunts, but the whole design was in-house. It's almost like you hate to see the funhouse evolve into something like that.
I understand. I could tell you some story. I'll tell you later in the museum about what happened to Lincoln Park's funhouse, which was very similar to this in its original form. You know what I'm saying?
The prism, which was the second evolution, was classic.
Now,
You
again,
know, when we initially put it up, we put things in here, but we didn't screen them because of the kids. We had to screen them when,
yeah. Well, even
but every funhouse goes through that problem.
well, let me tell you something. Just about every dock ride there is
Yes.
where you got a moving
Yeah.
car. They got things up, all kinds of barriers.
But you know, we thought we wouldn't have that problem. We thought we were different than other people,
Oh,
right?
this is, see, people
I know.
of our generation, like, you know, that wouldn't ever do something like that, but it's a whole new.
Well, you know, people in our generation went to the funhouse, we sat in the wheel, and we got thrown off and
Yeah.
bumped into people.
Yeah.
That was part of the game.
Yeah, I know.
We kept the barrel.
I gotta get back later.
Okay.
Which still works.
Well, would we use it?
Yeah, I just, let me go.
It could be effectively,
Who else do you know has a barrel that's operating?
Bushkill Park,
It's,
Pennsylvania.
in fact, they call their funhouse a BARL, B-A-R-L, of fun. But I've never been in one.
I've seen some bigger barrels that have a platform that goes through it.
Yeah.
In the back.
Yeah, these are definitely cool. I mean, unless they... Yeah. These are real cool stuff.
That's the, George, that's the dancing skeleton. Dressed up.
No kidding.
See it?
No, you're right. Now, do you remember